Hello people, I'm in Dearborn, Michigan, and I have finished a book. The Discovery and Conquest of Mexico. I'm not real sure where I got this book, but I know I didn't get it at King Book. I got it somewhere else. And just looking at the cover and the cheesy cover art, I thought this is going to be kind of a shitty book, and it'll be good for a little refresher. But this actually is, the entire book is a first-hand account of Cortez landing in Mexico, battling the first groups of people that he comes in contact with, and then going to Mexico City and fighting with the Aztecs and fighting with Montezuma, and then after Montezuma gets killed, fighting with the next guy. It was actually a really good book. I mean, written in a style that you would write in 1520. I got way too many notes. The guy that wrote this, his name is Bernal Diaz del Castillo, and he wrote it in 1520. Well, actually, he experienced it in 1520. He didn't write it until like 30 years later. So he wrote it in the 1560s. These events took place in the 1518 to 1521. It's 468 pages. A little bit, he reminded me of Livy. I have a book by Livy that's like the early years of Rome, and I still haven't got through that Livy book. They had to get this book from, it's in some kind of a archives in Guatemala. It's been translated once before, but the guy who translated it the first time changed a whole bunch of shit. And now this guy that translated it the last time is supposed to have done it without changing anything. 158, first paragraph. Second paragraph. I think I remember what this is. It was just a little bit interesting. They're talking to the Indians and asking them how they first came to this country. They said that their ancestors had told them that in times past there had lived among them men and women of giant size with huge bones. And because they were very bad people of evil manners that had fought with them and killed them, and those of them who remained died off, so that we could see how huge and tall these people had been, they brought us a leg bone of one of them which was very thick and the height of a man of ordinary stature. And that was the bone from the hip to the knee. I measured myself against it, and it was as tall as I am, although I am of fair size. They brought other pieces of bone like the first, but they were already eaten away and destroyed by the soil. We were all amazed at seeing these bones and felt sure that there must have been giants in this country. And our Captain Cortez said to us that it would be well to send that great bone to Castile so that His Majesty might see it. So we sent it with the first of our agents who went there. They probably had a dinosaur bone. That's what I'm guessing. When they get to Mexico City, this guy Castillo describes in great detail how Mexico City looked, how it looked from like the high ground when they first were able to observe it, how the lakes around Mexico City and the causeways and the bridges and the gardens and the markets. It must have been just a beautiful, beautiful place. Reading this, I mean, we all know how it ends. Reading this, I root for the Mexicans. I'm hoping that they kill all the Spaniards. You know, we all know that they don't. The Spaniards do not have everything their own way. There's a couple of times when they nearly get wiped out. What would have happened? How could history have been different? You know, I know that the Spaniards, or the Mexicans, you know, sacrificed people and cut out their hearts and stuff, but you know what? So what? The first mention of smallpox in this is at the bottom of page 293. It's a 468-page book. they don't much talk about smallpox. And a lot of the other accounts that I've read put a lot of stress on the fact that the Indians were all sick, and that's why they weren't able to defend themselves. That does not play a prominent part in this book. 293, 294. They blame it on a black guy. Let us return now to Narvaez and a black man whom he had brought, covered with smallpox, and a very black affair it was for New Spain, for it was owing to him that the whole country was stricken and filled with it, from which there was a great mortality. For according to what the Indians said, they had never had such a disease, and as they did not understand it, they bathed very often, and on that account a great number of them died. So that dark as the lot was the lot of Narvaez, still blacker was the death of so many persons who were not Christians. Montezuma, in this account, is killed by his own people when he goes to a rooftop to tell them to stop fighting. They hit him with stones. It doesn't make clear whether they hit them with stones on purpose or whether it's just friendly fire. He gets hit in the head, he gets hit in the arm, and later on he dies. He refuses treatment. Cortez has to battle not only with the Mexicans, but he has to battle with other Spaniards. There's another group under Narvaez that comes to get him out of there, and he wins that battle too. When they take slaves, they brand them. The Spaniards are they look at slaves just like they look at gold. They want to take as many as they can. The city of Mexico City, is under siege for 93 days. It takes them 93 days. At the very end, the new emperor, Guatemala or something like that, he surrenders, and that's how the book ends. I know that Cortez is not done. Cortez goes all through Guatemala and goes south in Mexico. Towards the end of this book, I got a little bit confused because all of a sudden things and people are referred to differently, but it switches from Castillo's writing to letters that Cortez writes to, they call him Don Carlos in some places, and then they actually call him Charles V in other places. I think those two nomenclatures are interchangeable. Captured weapons. The Indians, in the few battles that they do really well in, they capture swords and they capture other things, and the Indians turn them against the Spaniards. They actually take the swords and strap them to the end of lances. Another thing that I always had read was that the Indians were terrified of the horses. They may have been terrified of the horses in the beginning, but towards the end they got very good at killing the horses with lances. The Indians constantly changed their tactics to fit the different battlefields. The Indians were very ingenious. They even did, the Hunnic strategy, where you appeared to be retreating, you appeared to be running for your life, but all you're doing is baiting them in so that people can come from both sides and then surround them and then try to annihilate them. It was a pretty good book. I'm already into another one. Thanks for watching.